is Kevin Thomas with the At Home Film Festival, continuing a month-long look at gay movies. Happy Gay Pride! This week I'm kind of having a sub-theme of the Friends of Dorothy. This term came about, this is sort of the secret handshake of homosexuals. This came about around World War II, where you couldn't just say, are you gay, because you could have gotten beaten up or fired or thrown out of the military or what have you. So when you said, are you a friend of Dorothy, that means, are you gay? And some say the term came from Dorothy here, the part Judy Garland played in The Wizard of Oz. Others say it's from Dorothy Parker and her circle of writing friends, where many of them were gay. But however the term came about, Friend of Dorothy means gay. So if you see these movies on someone's shelf, they're probably gay. But since they're using the term Friend of Dorothy, don't out them, let them come out on their own. And we all know the story of The Wizard of Oz, so I don't need to talk about that more, but Judy Garland was amazing in that, and I'm a friend of Dorothy. A good movie to pair that with, oddly, would be Valley of the Dolls. You're wondering why. It's like, it's not even a wholesome movie. It's about 3 career girls that rely on pills and sex to get their way to the top. But Judy was supposed to be in this movie. She filmed a lot of it, but she was late a lot. She got fired and then she died shortly after. So this is a good pairing with The Wizard of Oz, but sort of sad that, you know, Judy wasn't in it. But it's very dramatic, very over the top, super gay. We love it. We love it! Like, where's that from? Another great double feature would be The Women, with a bunch of women, like Joan Crawford. We love Joan Crawford. And also got Rosalind Russell. I think she's next. So this is a movie all with women in the cast, and it's about them talking about men, fighting with each other, talking about jungle red nail polish. Super fun movie. An interesting tidbit about this film is the director, George Cukor. He was also filming Gone with the Wind, so when he was casting, pretty much any woman that did not get the role of Scarlett O'Hara is in The Women. Super fun tidbit, and I really like this movie, especially the color fashion show in the middle of the movie. But another thing to contrast that, so it'd make a great double feature, is Auntie Mame. See, Auntie Mame did not need a man to complete her, unlike The Women did. She was independent, she was a free spirit, super colorful and vibrant. How could you not love this movie? I watch it at least once a year. She takes no prisoners. She doesn't care what the system says. She's here to raise her nephew, who actually must appreciate it so much because it's based upon a novel from that little boy who grew up to be a man and a writer. So I would totally embrace watching Auntie Mame. I like to watch it at Christmas time. Super fun there. And then another great double feature, which will take us also back to the 50s, is this could be a Bette Davis double feature, All About Eve. Later got tied for the most Oscar nominations with Titanic, but this movie is a Hollywood, well not Hollywood, a theater backstory with Bette Davis in one of her greatest performances, taking this young Eve under her wing, but Eve is kind of a little, well, you'll have to see, but she's a backstabbing little hussy. Oops, spoiler alert, too late. Anyway, this has a lot of great classic lines. Everybody knows Bette Davis's fasten your seatbelt, you're in for a bumpy night. Marilyn Monroe sort of goes in and out of this movie a little bit, when kind of this is where she first was noticed. And many say that Betty was robbed of her Oscar, which could be true, but that year we also had Gloria Swanson in Sunset Boulevard, who was equally as great, but also, oh, there's that bumpy ride line. Anne Baxter insisted on being nominated for Best Actress and not Supporting Actress, which probably stole away a few of Betty's votes, but we'll never know. A great movie to pair this up with is another Bette Davis movie, and that is Whatever Happened to Baby Jane. Now, it also has Joan Crawford in it, so we're getting a little Joan here. They play 2 has-been actresses from from early days, and not has-been, but they've grown up. I mean, they're old. I think in this area, old means 55 or 60, so that's not old anymore. But Betty was a great actress, her character, and Joan was not, no, I got it backwards. Stupid Kevin. Joan was a great actress in her day in this movie, and Betty was not so great. But there's secrets that have happened in the house. They don't get along. In fact, they didn't get along off set. In fact, interesting tidbit is when Betty got an Oscar nomination and Joan did not, Joan told all the other nominees that if you can't make it, I will go there and accept your Oscar for you, which actually happened when Anne Bancroft didn't show up, so that probably made Betty fume even more. This whole story you could hear from the FX series Feud, but if you want to watch the source material, watch This Was All About Eve. And then, speaking of great double features, I love Barbra Streisand. So here, Barbra, Funny Girl, her first movie. In fact, she was able to get to become a voting member of the Academy even before this movie came out. So obviously she voted for herself for Best Actress, but interesting is that she tied with Katharine Hepburn with the exact number of votes. So if Barbra couldn't have voted, Barbra would not have won the Oscar and tied with Katharine Hepburn for Best Actress of 1968. I just thought, since we all know about this movie, that's a little interesting side story. A great one to watch this with. I typically do Hello, Dolly, but I've already talked about that movie. But let's contrast her with another diva from the same era. We're talking about Bette Midler and Beaches. This is about two girls that become friends. They grow up to be Bette Midler and Barbara Hershey. Bette is over the top, almost like a drag queen in this movie, which is probably an extra reason we love it. She's funny, it's fun, it's dramatic, it's sad. It introduced us to The Wind Beneath My Wings. So who wouldn't love that movie? Then we're going to Mahogany. So when Diana Ross's biggest movie that everyone would know is Lady Sings the Blues. She was up for an Oscar for that. Mahogany, she was up or won Worst Actress at the Razzie Awards. But you know what? I actually like her in Mahogany. And I don't think I'm alone. That's why it's on this list. She plays a young black woman who wants to be a fashion designer, but instead becomes a model because no one takes her seriously as a designer. But it's interesting that Diana, she also designed the dresses that her character designed. So I think that was a great tidbit to that movie. And I think that she shows that in more than one movie, she can act. She's done some other things later in her career as a good actress. I wish she was still around acting. But another one to pair her up would be with Whitney Houston in The Bodyguard. Amazing movie. Of course, everybody loves Whitney Houston as a singer. And I didn't really think, she's just going to be such a good actress. And is she a great actress? No. But she was credible, and I liked pretty much all of her performances. And this one in particular, she has so many great songs. This is one of the best-selling albums of all time, and Whitney really knocks that out of the park with every musical performance, and her acting is pretty good too. So I think that would be a good double feature. And speaking of actresses that could sing, now Julie Andrews is actually one who can also act. She would be like the Barbra Bette Midler sort of singing actresses, because she does have an Oscar as well. We all know her from many of her movies, but the gay world in particular loves Victor Victoria, where she plays a woman down on her luck that ends up getting a job as a drag queen. And then James Garner kind of likes her, but he doesn't think, since he's a straight guy, why is he liking a drag queen? Robert Preston and Leslie Ann Warren give amazing performances. The songs are really good. This also became a Broadway musical because it's so fun. So you got to catch this movie from the 80s. And a good one to watch it with would be the original Hairspray from 1988. This John Waters movie was his first sort of mainstream crossover film because he's done so many cult films, including one you must watch, Pink Flamingos. But I chose Hairspray because it's a little more mainstream, and it still has Divine, the actor or actress of John Waters. And this really became a popular made-for-TV movie. It was a popular movie at the theater years later. It was turned into a Broadway musical. Ricki Lake is super adorable in this movie, so how could you not enjoy the original Hairspray? And it's not as sweet and wholesome as it seems because John Waters is involved, so there's a little darkness to it, which makes it even better than all the remakes because they actually went back to wholesomeness. And then back to actresses that really surprises, singers that surprises actresses is Dolly Parton. Not only in 9 to 5, I actually thought she was good in Steel Magnolias. I like to watch her in The Best Little Whorehouse in Texas. But this movie about three working women, the other two are Jane Fonda and Lily Tomlin. This had great chemistry because they are still friends to this day. Lily and Jane, in fact, were in Grace and Frankie, the TV show. So this also became a Broadway musical with new songs by Dolly Parton. But that was a super fun movie, and we love it, and you should love it too. And a good one to watch it is with another singer who sometimes surprises us with her acting, and that is Madonna in Desperately Seeking Susan. Although she seems to be playing Madonna, which who wouldn't want to play Madonna? It's super fun movie with a great plot, very 80s feel, so it's almost like a throwback period piece. I really thought this movie was good. So many people think Madonna was a one-hit wonder with this movie. I don't quite agree. I think she did make some bad movies, but I also liked Evita. Who's That Girl is also fun. But if you really want to see Madonna in a super fun way, let's watch Desperately Seeking Susan. So now I gave you 14 movies to watch 2 a day to keep you busy for the next week. I didn't talk about Cabaret because that was on a previous show, or Moonstruck was shared previous show, and Showgirls and Mommy Dearest definitely have to be on a list to watch. But anyway, I've given you enough, so I will see you next week. Thank you so much.